It's a life tool. It's one of my most valuable life tools. So I use it daily just throughout the course of my day. If I'm sitting on the couch, I'll send a couple cards. If I'm waiting at the airport, I'll send a couple cards. And then if I want to send a big campaign out to a bunch of people, then I'll sit down at my computer and create the campaign and all that. But it's a life tool. We just kind of use it as we go, just like you do anything else that's important to you in your life every day.
LabCoats, for those of you who are joining in on time or I guess a little bit late. This is a blueprint for prosperity, creating relationships, connecting with people. And one thing that's not going to go out of fashion is making people feel amazing inside. And that's what Gayle and Jordan do at a very high level. I think it's one thing, I think at this point, for both of you, it's ingrained naturally. So every time I either talk to you or engage with you in some way, what happens after is I get something in the mail and it makes me feel great. So, Gayle, Jordan, welcome. How are you doing?
Thank
Great.
you. Doing great. Great morning.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, well, let's get started. Who wants to go first?
I'm going to go first, if that's okay, Tristan.
Let's do it.
Appreciate the invitation. Hi, everybody. And I think I'm going to start by just saying I'm really excited to share this information with you, and I know Gayle is as well. And we're excited because we've seen many realtors and people in the real estate industry go from spending a ton of money on marketing to having a pipeline of endless referrals where people are just ready to buy or list. And we're excited. We're excited because in a downturn, a lot of realtors and those in the industry leave. I mean, we saw that in 2008, but the ones that follow the method that we're going to talk about, they thrive during the downturn. So how I learned about this was many, many years ago, almost 20 years ago, I started getting cards in the mail from someone I didn't know. I had read a book called How to Master the Art of Selling by Tom Hopkins. And Tom had sold, he was a realtor and he also was an investor. He sold millions and millions of dollars worth of real estate in Scottsdale, Arizona, back in the 80s, early 80s. And he wrote this book. And in his book, he had a chapter called The Thank You Note Habit, where he said you should make sure that every single person that does something nice for you or that closes a deal with you or that you meet gets something in the mail. And so I started doing that. And I learned from Tom and from others. I'm going to share a couple of videos with you here, just little 45-second videos. I've got 3 45-second videos that I'm going to show. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just share one other concept with you. Let me see here. Share, and we're going to have to optimize the sound on this. And we'll go here. All right, here we go. All right. It's trying.
It's getting
There.
there. It's getting there.
All right. I want to talk about the difference between marketing and relationships. Marketing typically, and we're all familiar with what marketing is. Marketing is a disruption in most people's day. Like I would say, you probably agree with me on this, that 95% of everything that we're hit with, we're not interested in at all. And back when we were kids, that we would receive hundreds of marketing messages a day. And today we're receiving tens of thousands of marketing messages a day. And for the most part, we're trying to get it out of our line of sight. It's a disruption. However, relationship is the connection is welcomed. And so people are feeling today personally disconnected. In the online universe, they've kind of lost touch with what's real. And the illusion of connectivity has created a false reality. The loss of personal relationship and real connection is fostering a sickness in our society. The violence, the stress, the angst, the discontent, the resignation, the disenchantment, the uncertainty, and the fear are all symptoms of disconnection. They're all symptoms of disconnection. And we have a solution that can really make a difference. People are tired of getting bombarded with the thousands and thousands of marketing messages, and it's getting worse. With AI now, it's going to be multiplied times 100. And they're over it, and they're done with it, and they're tired of getting sold and manipulated. And this is where the pushback comes from when you ever get pushback, or people that, don't return your calls or whatever. People forgot what really makes the world go round. And that's that people will remember that people will forget what really makes the world go round. They remember how you made them feel, just like what Tristan said. So I've got 3 very short videos that I want to show to you that really explain this concept. The first one is from a guy named Jesse Itzler. You might know who Jesse is. Jesse has had a lot of success. He's married to the billionaire founder of Spanx, and he's talking about what he did in his 20s and how it impacted his career and his life. So check this out.
When I was 24 years old, I wrote 10 letters a day, thank you notes, to anyone that came into my life that impacted me. And it could be, even if I didn't know you, but I saw your show and I was like, you know what, Tom, you've had some amazing guests I've really benefited from. I would just write you a handwritten note because, one, the handwritten note shows intent. You have to buy the envelope, buy the stationery, write the letter, lick the envelope, get the stamp, put it in the mail. That's a lot different than hitting send. It's also memorable. How many handwritten letters have you gotten this year? So I literally wrote 3,000 letters in 1 year. The people that you meet in your 20s rise up in their 30s and are in great positions of power in their 40s. You don't know in your 20s who's going to make it and who's not. So, you stay in touch, and very often those relationships merge their heads years later, decades later.
All right, so there you go. And most of you know who Gary Vee is. I'm going to give you a little trigger warning because he uses a little language here, but you'll get the concept. It's good. So here you go.
Businessman, I happen to be good at marketing. If you're not deploying services on top of your sales, it's just not smart. You're leaving so much money on the table. And so first I would do that, and then I would find ways to be in touch with those people as often as possible, and then not just when you're asking them for goddamn money. You're super in touch when you want cash. How about when something big in their life happened? How about actually building a relationship? My friends, as we go more Jetsons, the people that act like the Flintstones are gonna win. Your grandparents are more theoretically prepared for social media than you are because they invented the baker's dozen. They invented when you walked into the shop, they started cutting your roast beef because they knew who you were. They invented coming over your house and giving you a cake when your grandmother died. Now you have technology and you can scale that. Can we please deploy some soul and scale it?
Now, you're going to hear from Gayle here in just a minute, and she's going to share some real life boots on the ground stories with you of how we've deployed these services and how you might be able to do the same thing. So one more, some of you might know who this is. This is Patrick Bet-David. And Patrick he's probably one of the top 5 podcasters in the world. Sold an insurance company for $300 million. And this is him speaking to a group of about 400 people in a studio. But then there's 300,000 people watching online. So he's a billionaire, and he sold a company for $300 million recently. And here he is.
What hasn't changed? The need to build relationships. The need to prospect. Remembering birthdays, sending cards. Anybody here knows the company SendOutCards? Who knows SendOutCards? I think I've sent 100,000 cards with SendOutCards. Happy birthday, man. How's your daughter doing? Boom. Send them a gift, babe. Let's send them a gift. Hey, let's do this. Hey, let's do that. You don't do that anymore. Evergreen.
So there you go. So I'm going to stop the share and introduce Gayle, who happens to be a realtor for many years, and she didn't use this specific approach when she started, and then she started using it and has created an unbelievable referral pipeline. So I'm going to turn it over to Gayle, who's coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm in Vegas. Go ahead, Gayle.
Hey, everybody. It's great to be here. It's great to be in the same room with Tristan and Jordan right now. And I'm just going to share some stories that have gone back. So I've been a realtor since 2004. I'm kind of semi-retired. I tell my husband I'll help him out a little bit here and there. But we have some tremendous stories over, gosh, like decades, and I didn't have this service when I started. 3 years in the business, closed 75 deals, had stacks of files on my desk, and they were people, and I didn't have I had a relationship, but I didn't have a way to connect. And so I found SendOutCards, and I'm going to share stories we talk about, Jordan did a great job of talking, we talk about habits, right? So habits are, Tristan said, guys probably don't even think about this anymore. It's just what we do. And that's level 4, conscious incompetence. I don't have to think about it anymore. Conscious competence. I don't have to think about it. I just do it. It's just part of who I am. And the first story I'm going to share is about an event my husband and I attended in 2011. And I'm going to share this story with you, and I think you'll find it really impactful. So let me pull up the PowerPoint and we will play it. So habits create stories. And so, like I mentioned, I was in the habit of sending cards, and we went to an event and I took these pictures, and they were the winners of the Taste of the Chamber. And I didn't know anybody in this picture. Their business card was on the table in front of those pans of food. And I just said, I'm going to send them a card and say congratulations. And I did that. A week later, the guy that you see on the front of the card to the left, his name's Kiar Gamshow, he called me and he said, hey, I see that, thank you for the card. He said, that's amazing. And you know what? They kept this card in their store deli for years, this exact card. And he said, I see your realtors. My family and I are moving from the east side of the state. We might need to buy a house. And so do you think we could meet for a beer downtown and see if we were fit? And so we did that. And I want to share with you what's happened over the last 14 years of being with this family. So Kiar met Eva. Kiar actually bought this house back in 2012. He closed 12/12/12. That's just a date that sticks in my mind. And in 2013, he married Eva. And then over the course of the next few years, he and Eva took care of this, built this foreclosed home and made it beautiful. And then they sold that and bought this home. Now they have 4 children. But remember what he said to me is my family and I. So as these homes come across, I want you to think about this. His brother bought a house. His sister bought this house. And then we just helped them relocate to Washington, D.C. A friend bought a house. Mom and dad bought a house. And then the market was great last year, so we sold the house for them. A friend bought a house. Sister got married. Sister and husband bought a house. Now they have 3 children. And in 13 years, we sold 11 homes and generated over $100,000 in income. But the relationships that we were able to build with this family over the last 13 years has been priceless. Kiara and Eva just had their 6th child, and we've known them. So what do? You go in and you take the picture they send you of their baby, and you add a little blue giraffe, and you just send it off to them and celebrate these life moments that they have.
Yeah. I need to say this because I want to make sure everybody gets this. Gayle's not going to the post office. She's not putting a stamp on an envelope. She's literally using an app on her phone and loading the pictures onto a card on the app. And then she can add a gift, she can type messages, change the font, and then she hits the send button, and that card is at the post office the next morning. So she doesn't ever touch the card. And so when she's explaining about sending a card, I know some of you, if you've not seen this before, might be thinking she's actually printing stuff on her printer at home and then putting it. She's not doing that. It's all being done for her. So I wanted to make sure that everybody's clear on that.
It literally takes me about 5 minutes to do that because their address is in, I have the picture, the system is super easy to use. I'm going to share this next story, and it's the power of one. I want you to think about relationships and referral partners, okay? Well, we met Brooks back in 2010. She was the branch manager of PNC in our BNI group, Business Network International. I was the realtor. She was the branch manager, and her husband, Jeff, and her listed their home and bought this home with us. Over the course of time, Brooks furthered her education. She actually is now our financial advisor. And over the course of the last 14 years, she's referred us to friends, to family, to coworkers. And some of these are, people buy and then they come back and they buy and sell again. And all these homes that are coming through, I want you to think about this. And I have it written right here because, Brooks is worth about $8,500 a year. And think about this, if you had 30 people in your sphere that were referral partners of yours that were worth $8,500 a year to you, would that make a difference in your life? Just yesterday, my husband and I'm in my motorhome right now in Arizona. We referred our past client. Dawn just purchased this property yesterday, 10 acres in Michigan. It's her 5th transaction with us. When we get home from our 6 months in Arizona, our son-in-law is a realtor. He took great care of our client to purchase this home. When we get home, we'll list her home that Steve sold her a few years ago, and it'll be our 6th transaction. But I want you to kind of see this and how it develops over time. I went into my system and I looked, and over the course of since 2010, Brooks and her family have received an average of 6 cards a year from us. That's over 100 cards that they've received. And so, and it's life events. Hey, they are on vacation. We see them on Facebook. I take their pictures of their vacation and I send it back to them so that they have memories. And, it's not that we want to get something from Brooks. It's that we want to celebrate who they are and what they're doing. And the offshoot of that is they remember us when things like this, when they have someone that's looking to buy or to sell. I'm going to leave you with 3 questions because this is really important. How much is one referral worth to you? Some of you, it might be 2,000. Some of you it might be 102,000, depending on where you are. How much money have you left on the table because you've not stayed in touch after the sale? And would 1 or 2 more referrals a month change your business? I want to share this story. This QR code, actually, Jordan's on Jordan's slides, in this slide, will take you to an opportunity so that you can try SendOutCards. If you don't have an account, you can try it. We're going to encourage you to take the 10-card challenge, and we'll explain that in a minute. But I want to share this story with you because there's someone in SendOutCards, a realtor. His name was John, and he made a post one day because he had started. He started SendOutCards and he just wanted to reconnect with his clients, his past clients. And over the course of time, he got 13 cards back in the mail. And he went onto the MLS and I'll just escape this. He went onto the MLS and he looked at those homes. Yes, they'd moved. And yes, they'd use a different realtor. Why? Because they didn't remember him when the time came for the sale and the move to happen. So think about that. The average commission at that time for him was $20,000, and he missed out on 13 opportunities. Was that significant? Could he have changed a little bit if he had just taken some initiative to stay in touch over time? So think about that and how it refers in your business.
Gayle, can you put the QR code up again real quick? So everyone has that. Now, keep in mind, when these people call, they're not calling to be sold. They're ready to buy or they're ready to sell because you've built this relationship. One thing I want to just emphasize, and then I'll turn it back over to you, Tristan, is that what Gayle does is she doesn't sell them in the cards she sends. She has her brand on the back of the card, but the cards are celebrating their life. And I really want to emphasize that. When she'd send a card to his name, the caterers, Kiar. He would send a card to Kiar's family congratulating them on milestones in their life, like a new marriage or, congratulations on your new home or whatever. She also looks for opportunities, birthdays, holidays. Somebody loses their pet, their family member, their pet, they lose, and you send a card letting them know how sad you are that they lost it. And so that when you build those relationships over a long period of time, you're not doing it to get the business, but that's the byproduct of it, as Gayle said. So with that, I'll turn it over to, there's nothing like it, and that's why we're so excited about it. So I'm going to turn it over to Tristan, and we'll wrap things up here.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. One thing I remember every time when I think of Gayle, check this out, and I think people do this, I think of what my daughter felt the first time she ever got her first letter in the mail, which was from Gayle. So every time she thinks of Gayle, she remembers that. Every time I think of Gayle, I remember that, the feeling, right? She was like, it's for me. And she was like smaller because Gayle and I have been friends for a very long time. And think of how you're making the consumer feel, right? That's why I loved one thing Gary said, Jordan, in that video that you showed, where as we move closer to becoming more like the Jetsons, the people that win end up being the people that act like the Flintstones.
I love
And
it.
that makes 100% sense, right? Because we're liking, we're commenting on social, we'll message here and there, we'll shoot out an email, but who's taking the time to connect with us almost on an in-person level where we have to take the time to open, read, and then feel? That's powerful. That's super powerful.
Yeah, good
Gail, I
stuff.
love this. Where do people sign up and what should they expect?
Well, actually, the QR code that was on the slides is a direct link for them to try out SendOutCards. The 10 card challenge. Jordan, explain to them what the 10 card challenge can mean as they
Yeah.
start it.
It's essentially gives you a full account. You get the full send out cards experience, all the bells and whistles, and you also get 10 cards and 10 stamps loaded into your account. When you scan that QR code, you can sign up for it. You're going to have a username and password. You can then load the Send Out Cards app on your phone, or you can just log in on your website, but you're going to use your username and password. Once you're in there, you have your 10 cards and 10 stamps, and you can try it out. They're good for 20 days. Send out some thank you cards. You know, you probably know 3 people, or I'm sorry, you probably know 10 people that deserve to receive a thank you from you, or a card of appreciation or gratitude. And we've got tens of thousands of cards in the system, which you get. You get the ability to add pictures, all of that for 20 bucks. And then you can if you know you're going to use it on a regular basis, we've got upgrade plans. So if you know you're going to send out, say, 1,000 cards a year, we've got a program for that. Or if you know you're going to use it every day, we've got a program for that that can keep your costs very, very low as $1 a card plus the stamp. So, and so that's it. Let's go. Do we have time to put that QR code up one more time?
Yeah,
All right,
please.
let me go ahead.
We've got a few minutes here. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
and
take some questions.
also,
yeah. If you want to take some questions, Tristan, that'd be great.
yeah, and one thing I want to say, because I know a lot of you are listening right now and you're going, yeah, that's really great in concept, but man, where am I going to fit that in my schedule? Right. And there
Yeah.
are options also for, we have an amazing VA service at SendOutCards now at Promptings, and they will help you import your contacts. They will help you design the custom branding, and they'll even actually send out some cards for you if that's what you need for them to do. So I cannot underemphasize the power of the note I sent to Aaliyah, because see that you can't replicate that with a VA. I'm sorry, you just can't do that. But there are opportunities for you to connect on a regular basis that's not going to that will not interfere in what you're already doing. And if you're being drawn to this, if your heart's going, yes, that's what's missing in my business, then this is what
Mhm.
you need to give a try to.
I love that, guys. I like this a lot because it brings back the piece that I think we're sometimes missing in the industry because we're moving faster. But I think what we need to do is slow down a little bit more and
Yeah.
connect with people. You're watching what's happening on on the same level of what you're watching us do with technology in the real estate world. That's also having a negative effect on the consumer because you're hearing more and more of them saying, well, what are you doing for us? Right? We find our own property, right? We can take a look at it and decide whether or not we really like it or not. We're sending you everything. We can find all the information on Redfin, Zillow, or Realtor.com. Why are you getting this amount in commission? It doesn't make sense, right? And so that's going to be expanded even more for those people that don't create relationships that are deeper, because there will always be the Apples of the world, the companies where I will pay a lot of money for their products versus the rest of the world where you can buy it for whatever price you want, but there's a culture, right? There's a feeling for each. And so I think you guys have been doing it the right way. And it's just going to be more obvious in the coming years, believe it or not. It's kind of
No
crazy.
doubt.
Question here from the audience.
Yeah, you bet.
Do you combine something like this with drips, like email drips, texting, and then send out cards? Or what would that look like?
So I wouldn't say that we combine it per se, but we do both. So it's important to do both. So we do drip campaigns. So you can, for example, if you hire us to do one of the done for you packages, where you pay one price one time, you get your VA, you get your cards and your stamps paid for. And the way it works is, let's say you want to do your last 50 sales, you want to make sure each person receives 3 cards from you over the next year. Well, the VA will help you design custom cards just for you. They'll schedule the cards. They'll actually put your contacts in for you, and they'll send them for you, all for one price, which is a really good price. It's a done for you product. And we have it. You might have 100 clients you want to do that with, or 300 clients. We've got packages for everybody.
Got it.
That's if you want somebody else to do it for you. But then can't overemphasize, like what Gayle said, and you touched on it too, Tristan, is that having the app on your phone to be able to instantly, immediately send a personal card out based on a conversation you had. Like I was at a land event this weekend on the Vegas Strip for 3 days, and there were 200 people there. I've sent 44 cards in 2 days while I was at the event from my app on my phone.
Of course you did.
But now what's going to happen though, Tristan, is those people are going to get home and they're going to have something in their mailbox waiting for them from me with a picture of us on the front because I took a selfie. And so now there's a face and name familiarity. It advances the relationship times 10 automatically from everyone else that was there at the event. Nobody else in the event did that.
That makes sense. Yeah, nobody else did. Well, you also built it into your day. That would be a great next one to do, to understand how you had to shift mindset to be able to include this in everything that you do, because this is what I see from both of you. The way that I use social, which is like just naturally I go in and do Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You guys do the exact same thing with cards. It's like, it's so natural. And I want to know how you got there. Is it just a matter of, that's a whole nother webinar, which is like, hey, Tristan, we did this and this and this. But I just admire that for both of you, because I want to get there. So thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Tristan.
A couple of questions. Do you guys block out time monthly, weekly? I have a feeling, Jordan, Gayle, there's no block time. It just happens because you're so used to it now.
It's a life tool. It's one of my most valuable life tools. So I use it daily, just throughout the course of my day. If I'm sitting on the couch, I'll send a couple cards. If I'm waiting at the airport, I'll send a couple cards. Then if I want to send a big campaign out to a bunch of people, then I'll sit down at my computer and create the campaign and all that. But it's a life tool. We just kind of use it as we go, just like you do anything else that's important to you in your life every day.
Got it. I agree. Three questions that were like this. We used this a long time ago. We'd love to get back in. How do they do that? Do they use their old email, new email? What does that look like, guys?
Gayle, do you want to answer that?
Well, if you have an account, you had an account, you can log back in if you have your username and password. If you're wanting to start fresh, you can start fresh and just, I personally, when I'm used to do something, I like to start fresh and go from there. It's just how I am. For example, when I went from an Android to an iPhone, it took me a while. I lost 4,000 contacts. I'm like, okay, that's okay. I can just build from where I'm at. So just start again and build from where you're at and go forward.
I like it. Jump in new with us. You'll have us to help you out. Jordan, Gayle, thank you for doing this. I'd love to do this monthly with you guys to go deeper, because I agree with Gary. The Flintstones are going to win, which is nuts. It's crazy. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well,
this was awesome.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great week. We'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye. Thanks. Appreciate it.